My name is Jason JROCK Houston. You guys are listening to an interview being done for Under Influence. My great pleasure to be speaking with Dio Rising lead singer David Fisher, and you guys are based out of Las Vegas, Nevada. Is that correct, David?
Yes, it is.
Okay, now I guess the best place to start the interview off is if you could share with us how you first got into the music of Ronnie Jame Dio.
Well, it started when I was younger, when I was a teenager, in high school, like probably just about everybody else, in the late 80s, early 90s, and big metalhead. I had kind of discovered a lot of different things over the years, and started with stuff like Iron Maiden, and then eventually wound around to Dio the band, and that was my first exposure to Ronnie Dio.
Okay, great.
I kind of went backwards into the Sabbath and Rainbow stuff after that.
Great. Now, okay, so that's kind of interesting because like you, I discovered the Rainbow stuff and that later on. But one of my favorite albums he ever did was Heaven and Hell. I mean, talk a little bit about the influence that album had on you.
Oh, well, that is, well, I've said it a number of times before, and I'll say it as many times as people will listen. As far as I'm concerned, Black Sabbath began in 1980.
Yeah.
I mean, no disrespect to Ozzy Osbourne, we wouldn't be where we are without him.
Yeah.
But in terms of the musicianship of that band and the output, the great stuff that they had, it began with the Heaven and Hell album, and that album is just about perfect. And everything about it, it was a new level of Sabbath. It was a new, really invigorating sound, and something that hadn't been heard before. And just the combination of Ronnie's melodies and lyrics added to what the Sabbath guys were doing already was just an unbeatable combination. And there's really no duds on that album. You even think, you think of the 3 or 4 big songs off of that album.
Yeah.
But there's even the deep tracks. You hear one of those and you just think, wow, that's just as good now as it ever was. I mean, it's almost flawless.
Yeah, I mean, people forget back in 1980, when Dio joined Sabbath, everybody was kind of looking, Ozzy can't, who's going to replace Ozzy? But like you said, Dio, not only is he a better singer, but he's a better songwriter. And I really always loved Ronnie's, lyrics. I mean, great imagery and, a great storyteller. But, so what was the first, time you heard Dio? I mean, as far as, was it going back to the Holy Diver album?
It would probably have to be, and actually, I'm 41 years old, so I'll go ahead and give that away right now.
Okay.
Just keeping track. So, I kind of was a little young when even the Holy Diver album came out. I was 8 or 9 years old when it came out.
Yeah.
And but the thing is, I'm sure my first exposure to Dio was probably like a lot of us, the Headbangers Ball, MTV back when it was something decent, and just that, or possibly the radio. I know I grew up in the DC area, and Dio on the radio is unheard of. I mean, in fact, it wasn't until I moved out to Vegas that I realized that all sorts of rock stations actually played Dio or played Sabbath with Dio. I mean, we never heard that on the radio, but so I guess it was some of the smaller pirate radio stations or the Headbangers Ball or something like that where I first heard Dio, and of course I was sucked in immediately. Got the Holy Diver album, was not disappointed. It's just like I said about Heaven and Hell, it's almost perfect, and still holds up. So that's kind of where I first heard it, and I kind of picked up from that. I believe when I was first getting into that kind of music, I think Dream Evil had just come out.
Oh, wow.
So that was really where I'd started. So it was, a little later than the classic era.
Okay.
It didn't take me long to get all the back catalog.
And let me ask you, Dave, I imagine like a lot of the guys I talk to that you probably been doing the original music scene for a while, but I was curious, talk a little bit about your decision to put together this Dio Rising band, and did you at all have any reservations about doing a tribute band?
Not really. I guess I'll backtrack to where it starts with me. I actually hadn't been doing anything in music for a long time.
Oh, wow.
I'm a high school Latin teacher by trade.
Oh, okay.
Actually.
Wow.
And I had last been involved with a band, it was probably 20 years ago, in the early 90s when I was in college. And so really hadn't done anything since then. When I started teaching, I stopped performing and stopped writing new music. And so I kind of took my time off. At that time I also got married, so you had the whole starting a family, starting a career, right there, but it wasn't up front. And it was after I moved to Vegas that just, it kind of seemed like I was really comfortable where I was in all parts of my life. And it was time to get back into music. And that was a few years ago.
Wow.
And I started to a little bit through the idea. I didn't want to write original music. I got too old for that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't have the time or energy.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of looking at doing just a metal tribute sort of thing, like, a cover band, basically. And it was right around that time, actually, that Ronnie died.
Wow.
And so it was just a strange confluence of events, because I was looking into what was out there and, trying out some different leads and, just seeing how I could fit into the scene. And I saw an ad on Craigslist, somebody was looking to do a Dio tribute. And to find out it was just me and the original drummer.
Wow.
They kind of realized there's a market out there for this. Nobody's doing it. And everybody who loves heavy music loves Dio.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody was doing it.
Yeah.
And so I said, okay, well, that's it. I mean, my first love is Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
But, there's 8,000
Iron Maiden tributes, yeah.
Nobody was doing the Dio stuff. So we said, hey, let's do this, and found the right group of guys, and just took off from there. I mean, I don't have any problems. I didn't say, geez, this is a really big task. Because, it is. I mean, obviously, the man had probably the most iconic voice in the history of heavy metal. But I knew I wouldn't be anything as a singer without him. And so he was such a big influence on me. It was just a natural thing to do.
How cool is that? Now I got to really tell people, I've been on your Facebook page and looking at some of the band photos, and you specifically, you look a lot like the man himself. Now, how much of that is just your natural look versus, you getting dressed up in a costume?
I think it's all the costume, because it's just natural. It's what I look like. I mean, I will say, I've ever since the band started, I've had to be clean shaven, and I haven't cut my hair. I mean, I wasn't going to cut my hair anyway. But at the time we started, I had a goatee, and I'm like, okay, that's got to go, because Ronnie didn't have one. We're not one of those tribute acts that really strives to do the look or to impersonate. We're not doing that. We're paying homage to the music. And so we try to be as accurate as possible in the delivery of the music. And I don't go out trying to look exactly like you, and I certainly don't even dare to try and act like him on stage. Some of the things that he did, I do anyway. And so I wear things that are reminiscent, and it kind of turns into, okay, this is a real tribute. It's not a mimic.
Oh yeah, and that's the point I'm trying to make, because people often ask, why do I do these interviews with guys like you that play in the tribute bands, and part of it is because I've been to a lot of these tribute shows and I enjoy it immensely, and it's almost like rock and roll theater to me, and like I said, you're not necessarily trying to mock Ronnie Jame Dio or anything, but you do a pretty good job, just like you said, like wearing the same type of stage outfits, and your hair looks kind of similar to what his hair. You're not his twin or anything, but I think people could go to see a Dio Rising show and they would get off on it. Just it might take somebody back to first time they saw Dio live in concert, or heard Dio on the radio or whatever on MTV for the very first time.
I really appreciate hearing that. I guess after all, there is a market for a short guy with a big voice.
Yeah.
I found the right thing to do.
And so, that brings me to my next question. A guy that hadn't, until he formed Dio Rising, performed in almost 20 years. How much work went into, having to get your voice into shape and really rehearsing these songs?
It's just, we started small. We were in rehearsal for, I think it was about 4 or 5 months before we even took it out to the public. And we kind of rolled it out slowly, because I wasn't the only one who was out of the game for a while. Actually, from the original lineup and even the current lineup, three of us had been away from this for a while. The bass player is a performing active musician. He's actually also a teacher.
Oh, wow.
A teacher, and so he's actually an upright bass player. Plays with the Las Vegas Philharmonic and things like that. And so he'd been doing that, but he hadn't performed rock in a while. And the guitar player had been out of the game for a really long time also. So we wanted to take it slowly, and we did. And, we've been very deliberate about adding new songs and things like that. I mean, certainly there's songs that people want to hear.
Yeah.
And so, obviously, we can't go a night without that handful of songs, without Rainbow in the Dark, Holy Diver, I guess, you have probably Heaven and Hell.
Yeah.
And Silver Mountain. You can't not do that. So we had to make sure we got those right. And we've just been very slow and deliberate about it. I know that for me, it's been great because I started off singing, but I've started coming back to treating my voice and treating singing as a craft again recently.
Yeah.
And so I've kind of been, really working the instrument and really, it's just been so much fun, and that's what it was all about. At first was just having some fun with it and bringing this music to people. Then we realized, okay, we need to sharpen this and be as good as we possibly can. So, just it takes some practice, but it becomes natural after a while. I kind of fear when I have to sing things that aren't Dio anymore, because it kind of seems like I kind of give them the Dio treatment by accident anyway, because it's such an ingrained part of my voice now.
Yeah.
But
and
it's not a problem, I suppose.
And as far as the Dio material, the solo material, I was curious, do you play primarily like stuff from the first 3 albums, or do you play stuff from throughout the whole Dio catalog?
You're talking about just specifically Dio the band?
Yeah, Dio the band, like some of the later albums, like maybe, do you play anything, for example, off of Strange Highways or anything later than that?
Okay, well, actually, yeah, the majority of what we do, naturally, is from the 3 albums, and actually really the first 2 albums.
Uh-huh.
I think the core of our set actually comes from the first studio albums, as well as the Black Sabbath and Rainbow. Now, we do some newer songs. We have been playing Killing the Dragon for a couple of years.
Oh, cool.
And that really goes over well. I was shocked how well that song went over. And, I mean, it's such a great piece. And, and of course that massive Doug Aldrich guitar sound just really resonates. And and actually, it's funny because I keep thinking, nobody knows that song. If we have to cut something, that's what you cut, and we can't cut that anymore because it's just too good and it goes over too well. We also are adding a song from Magica. Actually, this Saturday we'll be playing a song from Magica for the first time. We're going to be doing Fever Dreams.
Okay, wow, cool.
And we're going to try and mix in some other stuff. I've been advocating for a couple of songs.
Yeah.
It's funny how we choose new stuff now, because a little bit of preference coming in now, because we got the big ones, and now it's like, well, I'd love to do a couple of the singles off of the Lock Up the Wolves, Dream Evil era, specifically Lock Up the Wolves, the one song I'm just dying to play. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, that's interesting, because, you're talking about Ronnie, he's a guy who'd had a career, like almost 40 years, so you got a lot of stuff to, draw from. And a couple of years ago, shortly after he passed away, they put out like a greatest hits album called The Very Beast of Dio. And what's cool about it was kind of the stuff from the later Dio albums, like Kill the Dragon and other ones, like you were saying. And it was kind of almost like having a new Dio album, and people that didn't get to hear those songs the first time around, people really kind of getting a chance to rediscover these songs. And like I got it, I put on the whole CD from start to finish. I'm like, man, these are really, people forget how great this stuff is, and I'm glad they got at least a greatest hits collection of that out there.
Oh, we were the same way. That kind of opened my eyes to some of those songs, because, I mean, I've definitely followed through the Tracy G era in the late 90s, through Strange Highways, and then and around that time, but then I kind of fell off, because I was, busy with life.
Of course, yeah.
And I didn't know the material as well, but when Very Beast came out, it was just fantastic, and that's where I first really fell in love with Killing the Dragon. Actually, it's not. I shouldn't say that. It's where I fell in love with Fever Dreams.
Yeah.
Because Killing the Dragon, actually, I was very lucky to have seen Ronnie play it 3 times, and it was all late in his career.
Yeah.
Twice with Dio and once with Heaven and Hell, and both of the times that that I saw them as Dio, it was on Killing the
Oh yeah, you can't go wrong with anything that Ronnie did. But so what's it been like for you performing this material? Having your own Dio tribute. You must have people come up to you after shows and telling you, "Oh man, you took me back to the first time I seen Dio in concert." I mean, that's got to be a great feeling for you.
It is. It's. I mean, I'd say it's kind of like a badge of honor, but it really isn't, because it's not about us.
Yeah.
It's all about him and those songs, and so it's a brotherhood, and we all know that. Anybody in the metal scene knows the brotherhood, and they know that that we're all in this together, and we're all in it for the shared memories we have, and the great times that have come before, and that's just tied into this music.
Yeah.
And so whenever somebody says that we take them back, that's all we could ever hope to do, because we're right there with them. And I mean, not a time goes on that I start one of these songs that I'm not over.
Yeah.
Still.
And let me ask you, Dave. I got to ask you: have you ever had a chance to experience the Dio Disciples in concert? That's something I got a chance to experience, and it was almost like, I got to tell you, almost like electrical church, if you know what I mean. I mean, it was just a great. It's basically the surviving Dio band with Tim Owens and Oni Logan, taking over for the vocals.
Yeah, I did get to see that, actually, and that was it was fantastic. I mean, as you said, Oni was phenomenal. I actually saw them in a couple of different shows, and they had other musicians involved, a couple of different singers. Rick Owens was with them one time when I saw them as well, which was phenomenal. Also had a chance to see Last in Line, Vivian Campbell's.
What was that like?
Performing of the original lineup.
Yeah.
And they were quite good as well, very tight. So it's good, and that's why we started doing this, because some people have to carry on that torch, and the more the merrier, because it's really good stuff.
And the great thing I experienced at the Dio Disciples, where I seen them in concert, was I mean, these are the guys these are the guys that actually played with him, and then even Tim and Oni are guys that knew and worked with Ronnie, and Ronnie kind of helped them throughout their career. And so these are guys that although they're trying to make a living, they're not just simply there to cash in on Ronnie died, we're going to cash in on this. They're strictly, you could tell if you got a chance to see them perform, they're really doing it out of a love for Ronnie, if you know what I mean.
Oh yeah, the emotion is evident in watching them, and I can't even imagine what it's like to be in their shoes, and I'm just very glad, for the sake of all of us, that they've decided to keep it burning and keep doing it, because it's it definitely is something we shouldn't let fall away, and I'm just really glad to see them still going on.
Yeah, and
without him, and such homage to all of his career, because especially the Disciples, they do like you had mentioned earlier, they play quite a cross section of his whole career, so it's a really good thing to see.
Yeah, and to me, it's the great thing is about something like that is it shows how how great these songs really were. The fact that as great of a voice as Ronnie Jame Dio was, he's the man that wrote these songs, and he's no longer here. But you could take a guy that's like Tim Owens or Oni Logan step in for him, and they can deliver songs just as good. That just shows you how great the material was that he was writing.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's kind of it's funny, because anybody can do it justice if you have the instrument. And I guess that's the key, because obviously if you do need a little bit of a voice to pull it off, but anybody who is a really good professional, I mean, the songs are that great. You can put your own spin on it, and it just comes out so well. I've heard some great Dio covers over the years. In fact, probably one that sticks in my head as being one of the best is Doro Pesch's cover of Egypt. It's just perfect, and I mean that just shows you how great those songs were.
Oh yeah.
They stuff like that.
And I got to say, his wife Wendy, she's done a great job of keeping his legacy alive. And you mentioned this earlier when you formed Dio Rising, that years ago you'd done your own original music thing, like a lot of these guys doing the tribute thing now. I was curious, when you first put the band together, were you surprised to see the kind of success you could have doing a tribute band like this, I mean, like you said, you have a built-in audience, so people come to Dio Rising show, they kind of know what they're going to get.
And well, absolutely, and I think that was kind of why I felt like I wanted to get back into it, because I know this market. Basically I took what I would be already doing in my everyday life, my singing in the car or whatever, or on my way to work. Well, now I just take it and make a professional production out of it, because it's a part of me, and it's music's an everyday part of my life. And I started seeing that people our age and a little bit younger and a little bit older are just really starting to get into this. I didn't quite get the tribute band thing at first. I didn't understand what it was all about. But then I think about how big of an impact an artist like Ronnie Jame Dio has had on my life.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, why not go and pay homage to that?
Yeah, and
so you're right. It's a built-in audience, and people really dig it.
And the beautiful thing about doing a band like Dio Rising is, you made the point earlier that there's half a dozen Led Zeppelin, AC/DC tributes, and so if there are that many bands out there doing the same thing, the cream's going to kind of rise to the top. But I think and there's more Dio bands kind of starting to pop up as time goes on. But I think there's not a whole truckload of them right now. So I think you're smart in having a band like this, because people are going to want to come see a show like this, and there's not 500,000 Dio tributes out there right now.
That's exactly it. I mean, I was worried at first, is there enough of a market for this? But this is not a we're going to go and see this band every week sort of thing. This is a we pop up every couple times a month and just kind of shows up, and it's always welcome there, because it complements anything else. I mean, we loved especially playing shows on bills with other tribute acts. And the thing about Dio is it can pretty much pair with anybody.
Oh yeah,
I mean, you take any hard rock act, and Dio's going to be a good compliment to it.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
good package.
I mean, I see a lot of these tribute shows, like I said, and typically that's what they do. they team them up. They get about like three or four great tribute bands on the same bill, and $10, $15, you get your bang for your buck, so to speak.
Oh, absolutely, and actually, it's even better out here in Vegas. A lot of them are free shows. Actually, we have such a nice, vibrant scene that actually we have a lot of no-cover opportunities to play, and that's great, because it's always good to just have people come out. Just maybe they don't have anything going on, and we end up giving them good times. That's what it's all about.
That's a beautiful thing, because I know there in Vegas, you guys are kind of becoming the new music city, and a lot of people are moving there, a lot of the rock bands, and that's a great thing, because like here in LA where I'm from, a lot of big clubs like the Whiskey Man and stuff, they still even tribute bands, they got to pay what's called pay to play still, which is amazing. A tribute band playing a club like that, but they'll play it if they think they can get enough people in the to pack the house, and that's the whole name of the game is, okay, well, we'll give you guys like 100 tickets to give out to your fans to pack the house, but if you can't pack the house, then you're not going to come back. So I think it's great to have a scene like that out there in Vegas, where bands don't have to do that.
Well, there's a really good reason I think that a lot of the actual rock stars have come out here in their later years, because it is. It's just a really welcoming scene. It's not disparaging the LA scene. I mean, obviously it started it all, but there are some elements like the pay for play thing. I don't know that this would work as well if we had that, but we just have this great community out here and good spirit, and so it works out pretty well.
So as far as Dio Rising, do you guys pretty much stay locally there in Vegas, or do you get a chance to ever do gigs outside of town?
We have been staying locally up until this point. Actually, we as I said, we started working on it in late 2012, and really started taking it out the summer of 2013.
Yeah, okay.
So we're on a couple of years, or on a little, almost 3 years now, full years of taking the product out, and so we're definitely at that point now where we're confident and ready to start playing some other places. And actually, we have recently signed on with some partial management. So we're looking at to start with. And certainly if somebody said that they'd be willing to get us out on a tour, we would definitely not say, no, please don't do that.
Yeah, and I understand the other big thing. I understand the other big thing in Vegas, a lot of tribute bands are doing too, or a lot of them are getting these residencies at the different casinos. Is that something that you would ever, be interested in doing?
Certainly it would be. I do think that when you have a one-act tribute, there's only a few that can really
pull that off. Yeah.
Hold down the full residency. And certainly you have some artists, Beatles, Led Zeppelin, AC/DC, stuff like that. You can have that in a residency. I don't know that a Dio band is too good for that, but we certainly are aiming for playing shows within that context. Certainly the casino scene does help us as well too.
Yeah.
A lot of good venues that are affiliated with casinos, and so that's another outlet. And that's kind of our version of the achievable big time out here.
Yeah. Because just to throw an idea out there, I almost kind of do think you could do something like that for a simple fact that you could have an evening of Dio music. Like you could kind of do like a 3-act thing where maybe first part of the set you do a couple of Rainbow tunes, and then second part you do Sabbath, and then up to the Dio band.
I would love it. That would be fantastic. Yeah. So that's some of the future we're looking at, and hopefully it's going to continue to keep moving in the right direction like it has so far.
Yeah, and do you like when you're performing this stuff? I was curious. What era seems to get the best reaction? Is it Rainbow, Sabbath, Dio, or is it a little bit of everything? People seem to be loving.
It is a little bit of everything, but I guess there's two kinds of appeal.
Yeah.
There's the familiarity aspect. Certainly when you open up with the first couple of notes of The Last in Line or Holy Diver, people go nuts. Or Rainbow in the Dark, because they're familiar with it. But I noticed that the older stuff gets a real reaction, and I think a lot of that is that we've developed the following among the stalwarts, the real metal fans that just live and die by this, and people like us.
Yeah.
And so we get great reaction with the Rainbow stuff. In fact, we've been doing more and more of it recently. I mean, Sabbath goes over perfectly, but I mean, like when we were talking earlier about the Heaven and Hell album, I mean, how could something like Neon Nights or Children of the Sea or Heaven and Hell not go over well with Mob Rules? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, even the Dehumanizer track we play.
Yeah, I mean,
great return.
I'll never forget the first time I heard that.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I was just gonna say, I never forget the first time I heard that song "Neon Nights." I mean, that just totally blew me away. And then come to find out, like I heard the song "Long Live Rock and Roll" by Rainbow, and I thought, wow, that's the same guy. So that's got to be a cool thing too, that you guys are kind of turning people onto this music, and they realize maybe, oh wait, Ronnie Dio, he sang in Rainbow. Oh wow, that's cool,
Well, I think your casual fan doesn't quite realize that, and then we've pulled in a lot of those people where they go in thinking that they know Dio and they're just familiar with the band, and then you play those Sabbath songs and those Rainbow songs, like, oh yeah, I knew that too, I didn't know that was him. And so it pulls in those people as well. There's all sorts of people who appreciate this stuff, and we're discovering more and more different types of them. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and it's and I remember last time I seen Dio in concert was with Heaven and Hell, and I'll never forget it because there's just this little powerhouse guy singing off the top of his lungs, and it was just amazing that this guy was singing with such a high pitch. It was so little, but such a force to be reckoned with. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, a complete force of nature, and I can't ever forget that, because if I try, even if I do forget that, about 15 minutes into the set, I realize that I'm going through a workout. There's a lot of controlled madness in the stuff that Ronnie wrote.
Yeah, and then I got to ask, because this is a great time to be for Dio fans to be talking, because next week we have we have a Resurrection King, which features Craig Goldie and Vinny Appice, and Chaz West. That's coming out. How likely are you to check that out when it gets released?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's anything from the family tree. I mean, well, anything that's good metal. I mean, that's it. As my tastes have broadened over the years, but they definitely haven't changed. And that's, I mean, the stuff that those guys have given me throughout their careers has been among the most important music in my life. So of course I'm going to check that out.
And then and then I don't know if you're aware, Last in Line, they have an album coming out actually in February too, and I think it's actually all original material, which is going to be cool to check out.
Oh, definitely. I mean, when I saw them, they had done only stuff from the first 3 albums, so I can't wait to see their new material that goes along with it, because it should be real good. That's one hell of a package.
And so I guess the best place to end this tonight is I got to ask you, what have you enjoyed the most about paying tribute to the man Ronnie Jame Dio himself? What do you enjoy about what you do? Putting on the Dio Rising show.
Well, I mean, the best part of it all is I get to hear this music.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems strange being one of the people who's generating it, but but absolutely. I mean, first and foremost, every night that I get to hear the variety of stuff we play from all of those different points in Ronnie Jame Dio's career, that makes me extremely happy. And working with this great group of guys that I've got that are all equally dedicated to this, and they're all craftsmen in their own right, is just it's great. Then add that to the people looking up at you who are enjoying it too. That's I want to see people raising the horns and smiling every night.
And
that just gives me an intense joy.
And I got to ask you too, because typically these tribute bands will name the band after a song on an album, like maybe Lock Up the Wolves or something, or Heaven and Hell. I love the fact that you came up with such an original, Dio Rising. How did you come up with that? Because again, it's kind of simple. It says what it is, but it's not the typical route bands go. Like, so typically they name the band after a song or an album title.
Well, it's kind of funny because the original name of this band was Last in Line.
Wow.
We started up just before Vivian and Vinny and Jimmy got back together. And so, and Claude, I shouldn't forget Claude. But when those guys got back together, we kind of looked at it and said, okay, this is probably not the best idea right now, because that was a perfect name that really summarized everything.
Yeah.
And so we started looking at alternatives, and we went through a bunch of different things, and I guess we just, we liked Rising from the album Rainbow Rising, and of course the lyrics from Stargazer that go along with it, and we kind of like that. And there's another band that was already doing that, and I'm glad for that, because if we just stuck with just Rising, I don't know that it's satisfying, because one thing you have to do in the name of the band is you need to be right to the point and make sure people know what they're getting.
Yeah.
And so choosing Dio Rising, it says that we're here to do Dio. By mentioning Rising, the people who really know what they're doing and the people who really are familiar with this stuff realize that it's kind of an all-encompassing career thing, that it goes back to the Rainbow days and everything in between.
Yeah.
And so we just kind of went with that, and it seemed right.
Wow, and now refresh my memory, because when we were, talking through the email the other day, setting this up, I couldn't remember. Were you telling me that your all-time favorite Dio album is it Holy Diver or Last in Line?
I would say it's probably Holy Diver, and that's and I've come to that realization in recent years, just because there's nothing weak on that album, and the more I listen to it recently, I realized that probably the most timeless music that he created in any band, just because it almost seems fresh to this day, and everything. There are no duds on that album. It says a lot that there are 4 or 5 songs off of that album that people get kind of mad if we don't play. It's only 9 songs on the whole thing to begin with. But you think about it, there's 4 that I don't think we've ever not played. because they're just that good.
And the reason I was asking that, Dave, is I want to kind of put this thought into your head. I really enjoyed talking to you tonight, and I hopefully we can do it again down the line. And I was thinking next time maybe it'd be make for a cool conversation. We could talk all about Holy Diver, in detail, why that had the influence it did on you, because I think that'd make for a great conversation. And once again, I just want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to do this. It's been a real pleasure talking to you.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you as well, and I agree that would be a fantastic idea. I'd love to do that.
So we'll keep in touch, and I'll let you.
Really enjoy it.
Okay, so we'll keep in touch, and I'll let you know when this interview gets posted. It'll probably be sometime in February, but I'm gonna get ready to send it off. And if you'd like, in the meantime, you could send me your email through the Facebook page, and I'll be sure I could send you an MP3 file of the interview we just did.
That sounds perfect. I will definitely do that, and I look forward to talking to you again. It was a real pleasure.
Okay, thanks again, my friend. You have a nice evening. Take care. Bye-bye.